Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best podcast concentrating on the topic of new metal. Once again, here I am, your host, Jay Horskow. With me, I have the notorious TIM, my partner in crime, Tim Anderson Jr.
Yo.
And joining us again, he hasn't gone home yet. He's still enjoying our company. Machine Man Records, varicella artist, and good friend of ours, Chris Bollinger. Chris, thanks again for joining us.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
And
dude, episode 1 was awesome.
Yeah, episode 1 was a banger. We're going to keep going with episode 2. We're going to continue our dive into ministry. Again, we hope you listeners are enjoying it. It doesn't have to be new metal in order to be influential. We had a long, I think it was a good almost 2 hours conversation around the beginning of ministry's catalog. Now we're going to pick it up with an album that's honestly one of their most divisive as far as their fans go. We're going to pick it up there. We're going to carry through to some of the more recent stuff. We're not going to touch on a lot of the live albums, a lot of the outtakes and single collections, because let's truth be told, the older Al gets, the more sober and less drugs he does, the more prolific he gets, and it gets really out of control really quickly. So let's pick it up with Filth Pig. Tim, take us away.
Their best record. I don't care what anyone says. Filth Pig is fucking amazing. It's Al's best work. I couldn't wait till we got to this record. Dude. The darkest one of the top 5 darkest records I've ever heard. You can hear the heroin in the music. I love it.
It's his Black Sabbath doom metal album.
Yes, it's fucking incredible, man. January 30th, 96. This came out on Warner Brothers. So I guess they go from Sire to the main and you get Warner Brothers, which I'm very surprised because the stuff you get on this record is not a major label output to me. Not at all.
From what I understand, they basically had no choice because they bought his contract from Sire, and he was. They probably just did it to say, fuck it, we don't want another deer head on our desk or some shit. You know, they probably knew at that time, holy shit, what the fuck. And again, I mentioned it last episode about that Fix documentary. That documentary takes place during this tour, the Spink tour, which is another live album, another live DVD, VHS, whatever. I would say go check out too. I think this version of Stigmata does rival in case you didn't feel like showing up, Stigmata version, but in a different way, because now it's not 4 goddamn people screaming the entire song. It's just Al, and it's still the same heaviness, and it's 3 guitar players doing it instead of maybe a guitar player and 3 synths. So it's a different kind of heavy. And I think they have a video. I think that's the video for it, we'll call it. You can see it, and Al's really into it. He's half off the stage, screaming, it's pretty brutal. And they're still bringing it fucking, I don't know, 10, 12 years later after the original song that he quote unquote hates comes out. But this album, it's I think it has a little bit for everybody too. It's not specifically doomy. It's not specifically heavy. It's heavy in a fast heavy. Sorry, it's heavy in a different way. But yes, Al is clearly out of his fucking mind. The Fix documentary is not only proof of that. His book is proof of that. His own recollection to the point that he can recall.
Yeah, he can't even remember recording it. It's crazy.
And that's a lot of people. I mean, I think who was it? I think it was Max when he did Arise. I don't think he remembers doing the vocals because he was drunk the whole entire time.
So, I gotta say, I fucking hated this album when it came out. I hated it. And
this is amazing record.
But Al Jurgensen nails it in the one quote where he said, everybody wanted Psalm 70.
Yeah.
They wanted the continuation of Psalm 69. And he turns around and there's virtually no electronics. It's very slow. It's very heavy.
It's a different type of electronics, I would say.
Yeah, that's not sampling and that sort of stuff. It's a different type of use of the technology.
It's more like if you want to say traditional keyboards.
Yes,
it's more that, or they go more into, like I said last episode, with using Paul Barker as like the low end of a keyboard. They go more into that, like Lava.
Yeah.
Him with that bass loop on Lava and the heavy drums, and I think Jello comes back and does like a weird vocal sample.
Yeah, the wah, wah. Yeah.
That's a harmonica though.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Oh, so he did the harmonica and then he pitch shifted it.
It's a pig.
He does something, because also on the first song,
Reload.
yes,
Yeah,
thank
Reload.
you.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the video with the JFK assassination. There's a part, I think he only plays it for like 10 seconds. There's a part in the breakdown that boom, boom. He just plays a little mandolin part. And it's fucking put through an amp and it's distorted as fuck. This is the album where, later on he starts to master like every goddamn instrument ever. Harmonica, jazz saxophone on Dark Side, mandolin, banjo, slide guitar like he plays, I think, on Buck Satan. This is the album that basically starts him into that, which, yes, you could argue the older albums that he went from guitar to synth to whatever.
I was a freshman in college. I was really into Nine Inch Nails. I was into all this industrial stuff. This album came out at the same time as Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera, right?
Yes.
So I was expecting more of that really dark and heavy, Ministry, and I got something which is slowed down.
But it is dark and heavy. It's dark and heavy.
It's dark and heavy in a heavy electronic sort of way.
Yeah. It's like sludgy, doomy.
Yes, that's a good example. Sludgy.
Thick, heavy.
I will say this. The Fall is probably the best song they've ever written, if not one of the best songs they've ever written.
Amazing
I think that
track.
is a perfect song. The piano fits. The effect that's on the guitar and the riff that you can tell it's strummed and it's held. I mean, there are some really, really bright. I mean, in hindsight, it's an amazing album. I just wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean? But my God, I hated it, and now I'm like, God damn, this is a fucking good album.
It's and not to cut you off, Chris, but I want to go off of what Jay said about Psalm 70 real quick, because Al said everyone hated Filth Pig. They all wanted Psalm 70, and I gave them an electronic free record full of gun and mouth dirge of nothing but pain. Aside from the cover art, the humor was gone. And you could tell it was gone because of the drug use. Yeah. All that was left was misery, and I had to tour the fucking thing, which went down in history as interminable, intolerable, absolutely fucking depraved, which was Sphincter.
And that's the Fixed documentary I'm talking about.
Okay.
You see that there. I mean, again, his weird artistic brain of he's having this philosophical conversation at one point, and I think he's wrapping his arm while having this conversation, and then he injects himself, and then he fucking runs out the room because somebody's practicing the drums in the next room to get ready for the show that night, and he fucking pulls his pants down and his dick out, and he twirls around the fucking room with the drummer, and he fucks a chicken or some shit, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? He was just being this well-articulate person, and then he just went off the rails, and he was this crazy maniacal, asshole. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck just happened? And it's like, well, that's Al. That just sums up Al.
Drugs.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, dude, he's a fucking psycho, man.
Well, even without the drugs, he's fucking like, whoa.
Yeah, apparently this record got horrible reviews, and it was slammed everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, everybody slammed it because it was such a departure. Yeah. And I mean, when you go from Psalm 69 to this, it is a fucking huge departure. I mean, it's
and that's
usually like misery. This record is fucking misery. Like, you can just tell he was ready. Like, I kind of feel like in this record, he was kind of like, listen, I'm either making this record or I'm fucking shooting myself in the head, and it's done. Yeah. Like, you kind of get that feeling from this record.
And that's like what Jay was saying, that you just weren't ready for it. Yeah. And a lot of people hated it because of that. But, once you actually, I didn't hate it, but I did. I wanted Psalm 70. So when I first listened to it, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. It's good. It's not great. But, once you get past that, you find out how great it is, and people,
yeah.
those are the albums that you start to appreciate more.
Yes, and you know what? And I hate to say this because I'm going to sound like an asshole saying this, but I kind of like that he got so down on the drugs because we got this record. Like,
Yeah.
I can say that because Al's not sober now, but he's not on the hard drugs. But
This is his dirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know,
Yes.
like Lane's dirt, like all those, you know, the song Dirt and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, like this is that.
Yeah. Or look at their Unplugged. How fucked up he was during that. Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
And what's his name from Pearl Jam? He can't even sing. That when he Eddie Vedder, when he does the cover, he does the cover with them. They can actually play, and they're doing that Friend of Mine from Grateful Dead cover, and they can actually function. Eddie Vedder can't. He was fucking blitzed.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you like the 20 years that they had down to become functional whatevers.
Yeah. The title was taken from a statement from the British Houses of Parliament in which the leaders called Al a filthy pig because of his onstage antics. Apparently, I guess like he did like a UK tour and he was just a fucking animal and doing crazy shit. And I guess they pretty much wanted to like ban him from playing over there or some shit. I heard.
Yeah, something like that.
It's fucking amazing. Also, this is their highest charting record, but it sharply divided the fan base and it didn't sell quite as well as Psalm, which is weird because it charted higher. So that doesn't really make sense.
It's probably one of those things where they bought it all quicker. Like the Fragile, like, you know, everybody went out and bought the Fragile and it was number one that weekend.
And everybody was like, what the fuck?
And then it dropped off like the second weekend. And the label was like, Trent, what the fuck happened? Like Jay said,
you went from a brilliant album, genre defining album to a 2-disc sprawling, self-indulgent, beautiful disaster. Because it's a great album. It holds up well, but
that's a fucking top 10 record.
Yeah. And again,
coming off of Downward Spiral.
Weren't prepared for it.
Coming off of Downward Spiral, and then what was after that? With Teeth, I think?
No, wait.
What was before With Teeth? It was You All That You Had Love You Leave Behind, or no, that's a Converge album.
It was all that could have been was the live album.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like he went from
it might have been With Teeth,
With Teeth
Downward
was
Spiral.
After.
Yeah, Downward Spiral. Then you have
Broken.
The Fragile, which is this 2-album just
Broken was before Downward, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And then
92.
you have I think it was With Teeth.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was With Teeth because they took a huge fucking hiatus on that.
Yeah. But you're right, and that's what, like, you know, everybody with the Fragile, everybody wasn't ready for it, but when you go back and listen to it, or you know, appreciate it more, or you get more into it, because everybody wanted the Downward Spiral Part 2, and same thing, they wanted Psalm 70, so. Sometimes those are the albums that stay with you.
One more thing. Al said he hated using samples, and he wanted this record to be a different direction for the band. So that's why you don't really hear samples on this record. And I do want to go out and say, I absolutely love the Lay Lady Lay cover. I think that is a fucking amazing fucking cover.
It's actually a pretty good cover.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs on the record. I know it's not an original, but that is a fucking brilliant cover.
I'm on the fence with it. Like, he didn't really do anything original with it. You know, he didn't change it up or anything. But at the same time, I'm glad he didn't. And it's kind of like just one of those take it or leave it. Because, like, I'm also not a fan of the original. I kind of like, I'm impartial. Mm-hmm. But I've done a playlist too where I don't include that song on the album. And I find that the album just continues. So, like, to me, it doesn't really need to be there. It's not pertinent to the album structure, so to speak. So
I really like what he did in the chorus of it, though. The way he did the vocals, they're just really good to me.
Yeah, again, I have no issues with it. I think it's great. There's a leftover song I think is on one of the Matrix songs called soundtracks. Called Paisley from this time frame. That's a good one too. You know, a lot of people overlook that one.
You know what I really like in Lava in the chorus part, where I'm guessing it's vocals where he's going like, you know,
That's
is that what he's saying?
that's the Jello sample, I think. Jello
Okay, that's
Buffer,
what I
yeah.
thought. Okay.
He's like yelling something. I don't know.
Dude, that fucking song is so goddamn good, man. That's a song that I will purposely search out to listen to if I can't think of anything in my head. I'm like, lava, there we go. And then I listen to the whole record.
I've thought about doing a cover, but I can't think of to do anything interesting with it, and I just didn't want to do a copy and paste. But it's got that, again, going back to like, you were right. It's got that that groove and that loop, but it's a real drummer and it's a real bass player, and there's really nothing there but a fucking harmonica that comes in and out, and that weird vocal sample. That's it.
Yeah, but it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and it works. It's about the stuff that you don't play, like I said earlier, or last episode.
Yeah, it's I will forever just call that their best record. And you know what shit I get for saying that, man? It's unbelievable. Like, people are like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like,
hey, I think Route to Remain is In Flames' best album, and I almost started I almost started a fucking riot on Facebook for that one.
Got killed for it.
Chris,
he was like, "Yo, I like you."
He was going to hitchhike to South Jersey to find me and slash my tires.
He's like, "I like you, but that is the wildest shit I've ever heard anyone say." But I'll agree. That's a fucking amazing
It's a
record.
fucking great album. I don't like anything they did before, and I don't like anything they did after. To me, it was
and I'm going to say, if Chris is listening, you probably don't agree with this either, but this is the best Ministry record. I'll say it again. There you go. I don't give a fuck.
We should get his phone number and like cut him in. We'll just call him randomly, like, "Yo, what are you doing?" 30 seconds. Don't think. Best Ministry album, and then give him a chance to answer. Then hang right up on him. Thanks, dude. Click.
Yeah, right. Do you guys want to go in the Dark Side of the Spoon?
Yeah. Let's go in the Dark Side of the Spoon.
All right. Released June 8th, 1999. Through again Warner Brothers. Obviously, we know what Dark Side of the Spoon means. This is where he's kind of, I guess, realizing he's a fucking addict and he needs to get off the shit and get his life together. Because I'm pretty sure for after this record is when he started getting sober from
after
the heroin.
This album. Yeah, after this album is when he cold turkey. Yeah,
I think he tried a few times, whether somewhere maybe between Psalm and God knows what album, maybe Houses of the Mole. But yeah, I don't know if it was the label or like his wife or Paul or all the above, maybe himself. But yeah, this was one he tried to get sober for.
Okay,
so I will. Tim, you got more? Keep going.
Yeah, well, this record is very soft. It's like it's not really aggressive at all, I don't think, when I was listening to it.
No, and that was what I was saying earlier. Like, I initially didn't like this album when I first heard it. The jazz stuff put me off because I just wasn't really I wasn't comprehending where he was going with it, and going back to get ready for the show, I started to listen to it in a different light, and I forget the song because, like I said last time, I didn't get to take notes properly, some personal stuff, but there's a song maybe about track 4 or 5 where it really, really reminds me of something that he did on Land of Rape and Honey. But instead, it's a drum loop, and it's Paul doing the bass instead of a synthesizer, and then he's got the jazz saxophone coming in instead of like a guitar, like on like Hezbollah or something where he has like crazy guitar parts or something. But instead here, it's a saxophone, and it's very. Trent kind of did some stuff like that for the Lost Highway soundtrack with David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Al loves like the Will & Barrows and Naked Lunch and that whole like 50s jazz, heroin, chic thing vibe. So I was kind of trying to figure out his mentality here, and that's the only thing I could figure is that he basically said, I like this, I want to try to incorporate it here, so instead of me playing guitar, I'll play it on the saxophone. I don't know. I'm really not sure, but I got a better appreciation for it. I think I know Paul said that they were kind of like tapped or at this point, but they just did 2 more albums. And again, it does have Supermatic Soul, I think is how you say it,
Yeah.
and Bad Blood, which they're kind of heavy. You know, they're a little more classic Ministry, so to speak. Filth Pig has a little bit of that with like Game Show and Useless, and there's another one I can't think of it. A little more guitar heavy, but it's still Downtrodden and Alice in Chains.
Mm.
Did he freeze?
It's very dark.
There we go.
Oh, I froze.
Yeah, you're good. Keep going.
Okay. Now that I'm unstable. Am I good?
You're still clipping. Hold on. Give your video a chance a second to catch up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear your videos just stuck. It's funny though because it was a funny snapshot of you for a second.
Okay. Yeah, it came up one after you guys said I was clipping that it was unstable.
Yeah, his connection's getting a little fritzy.
Do you want us to pause and you can come back on?
Yeah. Yeah,
All
we
right.
just lost him.
All right,
let's
so
go.
that's recording again.
What I was saying was it actually did say unstable, but I got 5 bars on Wi-Fi, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's annoying as hell. It's all good. We're recording again. I'll clip it out.
So
Okay,
we're talking Dark Side of the Spoon, right? So
yeah.
You were just talking about Supermanic Soul, which
Yeah.
is by far the best song on the album.
Yes.
Out of all the Ministry songs I have in my library, that's one of the songs I've listened to the most. This is where I realized that when you look backwards to the Ministry catalog, and even when you look forwards, we're going to go through the Bush trilogy, we're going to go through Relapse. Al Jurgensen knows how to write a fucking opener. He knows how to open an album, going all the way back to Stigmata, through Thieves, through NWO, through Reload, and now this. Right, and even through Mole, he has a great opener. There's a great opener on one of the other Bush trilogy albums. I just think he knows how to, and Tim and I talk about this all the time, song sequencing, right? How important that is on the album. He knows how to start it off with a 1-2 punch. Now, granted, sometimes it really falls apart after that, but at least he knows how to start the album.
And you could argue that Bad Blood would be a good opener too.
Yeah, no, it would.
Here, I have a very funny fact about this record. So, the album was pulled from the shelves of Kmart because of the album cover, which has a big obese woman on the cover sitting in front of a blackboard with the words "I will be God" written all over it.
Yep.
The funny thing about that is I was working at Kmart when this record came out in 99. I worked at Kmart for like 6 years, which was, don't get me wrong, some of the best fucking times of my life. That was a great place to work.
Where at? The one in Clifton?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I worked there for like 6-7 years, man. Nice. But yeah, they ripped it from the shelves there because of the thing. But the funny thing about Kmart is you were allowed to have all the rap stuff there that we're talking about shootings and all that shit, but you can't have Ministry, which is hilarious to me. So
it's only the album cover. If they had if they had a sticker over it, or if they chopped the photo out of her lower back and you didn't see her butt cheeks, it's exactly what you see with like movies and TV shows. You can show violence, but you can't have sex or nudity.
Yeah. You're right.
This fucking rating system.
So another thing here, people didn't really love this record as well, but they loved that you kind of went back to the Ministry sound with this, so people accepted it more. And it sold really good because this hit number 92 on the Billboard, which I think was their highest charting as of Ministry.
I think you're right, and that's kind of what I was saying when I got cut off. Apparently, that it feels more like a Land of Rape and Honey, but done with a live bassist and a saxophone instead of keyboard or guitar.
What was Sin Corinne on this record?
I don't think he comes in until later. With he's really just a live guitarist, but he did play. He might have played on the Bush trilogy a couple songs, but he's on Relapse, and I know he's on some of the newer ones like America Can't and From Beer to Eternity. Especially after Mikey passed, Al leaned on Sin more.
Oh yeah. Okay. Also, this record was nominated for a Grammy, but it was
Yeah.
also his 5th nomination. So we didn't really talk about that. And what do you think a Grammy nomination does to a dude like him? Like his frame, his his thoughts and
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Probably
because
gets a kick out of it.
that's what I'm saying.
Right?
Like you're a dude that is doing speedballs in the studio, passing out for 3 days, and then you wake up and you're like, "Hey, Al, your record was nominated for a Grammy." He's probably just like, "Yeah, whatever." You know what I mean?
He kind of I think it was for Bad Blood, and I believe they lost, but I believe he won for Lies 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 later on. But yeah, from what I understand, he's kind of said like he just like I think it's in the Fix documentary, he just doesn't really give a shit. He just does what he wants, and somehow he landed on this thing that he can make gazillions of dollars for, and he can tour the fucking world and see the world and do whatever do whatever the hell he wants to do whenever the hell he wants to do. And that like infamous quote of "I haven't had a day job since like 1981" or some shit he said. But like, yeah, I think he just finds it hilarious that he like walks that line of like, I'm a fucking crazy, maniacal, like murderous asshole, pretty much drug addict asshole, but I'm also doing well enough that I'm making a living at it.
The genius madman. He treads that fine line between genius and madman. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm gonna reread his book after this just because it's that good.
Did you finish the Chris Connolly one?
I didn't. You know what? I'm gonna start that after this.
I was just gonna say that.
I have it sitting on my shelf. I didn't read it yet though.
It's funny to read both of them because you can tell that and there's some excerpts from I think Gibby in Al's book. It's funny seeing all 3 of their stories that they're all drugged out, that they all have like the basics down, but there's little details that all of them get wrong. None of it lines up, but like the basic does. Did
you read Chris's book?
Yeah, it's a great book.
It's good. Okay. I have it. I bought it like a while ago. I just haven't finished. I haven't got to start it yet. So
he kind of, unfortunately, it was during a period when him and Al were still at odds, so he kind of shits on Al a little bit. But I think Al shit on him in his book, if I recall.
Yeah.
He shit on everybody, literally everybody.
Yeah. But he didn't suck any dick, But but yeah, like there's a couple stories with like Gibby. Oh my God, what is it in Al's book where like him and Gibby go to like some motel or something somewhere around Somme? I can't remember the actual story, but like Connolly he talks about it, but I think the details are like spotty in between all 3 of them. I mean, it's interesting to see that though. Is my point. Sorry.
So there's a 3rd book we have to get to. It's what you're saying?
No. There's parts I think in Al's book.
Okay.
Where like other people talk.
Oh, yeah. There's like interview segments in it. Yeah.
Yeah. That. So there was a part where Al says some story with him and Gibby around Somme and the whole.
I remember the studio story where they said Gibby was fucking whacked out of his mind. He basically kicked him and said, "Get up and sing," and and that's where it came from.
That. So it's something with that, and then like Connolly references it in his book too, and then Gibby references it in Al's book with that little weird excerpt, and it's just weird that they're all so drugged out that they remember parts of it but not the details.
They all remember being there, but completely different frame of how it happened.
Yeah.
Speaking of books, have you guys read Manson's book?
You know what?
No.
I have never read it, but I just bought it. Because I was reading a different article by this guy, I think it's Mark Manson. He's like a philosopher, sort of self-help guy, where he wrote the book Unfuck Yourself. But he quotes Marilyn Manson when he had this article which came out about dreams and how sometimes dreams are better being dreams than if they actually become reality. And he talks about that part of the book where Manson makes their mark, where he's sitting there crying into a pile of cocaine, where he says that, I have reached the point where I have gotten all the professional accolades I could ever want. I've gotten money. I've gotten fame. I've gotten all of that. And yet I've never been so miserable in my life.
Yep.
I just picked up, speaking of books, I just picked up the lead singer from Pitch Shifter did a tour diary when they were here with Gravity Kills and somebody else in the late 90s. And they kickstarted the book, which is a collection of all of his road diary. So I just picked that one up. I'm curious to see it because I fucking love that album. www.pitchshifter.com is fucking perfect.
Yeah, it's a great record.
I have to go back and listen to it. I haven't listened to it in a while.
It's fantastic. And I'll leave it. Speaking of, I will leave books with this. There's a book by some guy, I think his name is Aaron Turner. He wrote, it's What Does Regret Mean? It's all about the Butthole Surfers. And it's like the oral history of the Butthole Surfers. But he interviews them and he interviews everybody else. And I can't find a copy of this book for less than $250 because he only did a limited run or whatever. But like, it just sounds like they literally sound insane. And again, when you guys watch that documentary about City Gardens, like they talk about how they have a naked stripper on stage and how they asked them not to get the stripper out. And the second song, the stripper comes out. So yeah, it's Butthole Surfers were, and to think they got famous off that one song, Pepper, right?
And who was in your room last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking wild. So back to Ministry. So we're finishing up with Dark Side of the Spoon. Chris calls out like you called out the mandolin, you called out the saxophone, right? He starts getting really weird with the instrumentation. I think Supermanic Soul is again one of the better songs I've ever done. Atlas had to write an opener, and even some of the deep tracks, like was it Vax and Silence or Saxon Islands or whatever. Like it's not bad. It's just them kind of dabbling in what they used to do.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like songs like that call back to like You Were Right from Land of Rape and Honey, and maybe like Cannibal Song or whatever things like that. But instead of a synthesizer, it's now like what Paul does on So What, where it's just a loop bass and Al's doing a saxophone instead of a guitar. So it's very weird. And with like Bad Blood and Supermatic Soul. I think this is the album, if I can't remember if it's this one or Animosina, where they said in the studio they weren't using like amps and shit anymore. They were just plugging direct into the mixing board, and they were like blowing out the pre's, and that's how they would get that like weird like crazy distortion on like Supermatic Soul.
Yeah, so they were just clipping it.
Yeah. But they weren't using like amps or anything. They were just plugging into like boxes and then plugging into the board and blowing out the board. And then maybe they would send that somewhere and like manipulate that and send it back in. I don't know. But like even on the next one, oh my God, I think it's not Leper. It might be the first song. I forget the first song on Animosity.
And it's Animosity, then it's Unsung.
Animosity. Animosity and Unsung. Okay, but like those songs where it's like very like like that's not a fucking amp. That's them clipping out the board.
Well, speaking of clipping out the board, there was an interview with Dino Cazares, and I think it was the Meet Me podcast where he talked about how they went to Wax Tracks to record.
Yes.
And they couldn't get the tones right because apparently Al and them had done so much partying, they spilled so much shit on the board that the board was basically shot and they couldn't get it to sound right.
4D manufacture.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they said like everything about that studio was crashing. Like they were trying to do like just even like the drums, like basic drum tracking, and the board would last like about 2 minutes and the computer would crash and they'd have to reset, the power would go out.
Yeah.
All that kind of shit. It's just the studio was basically in shambles, not only from whatever was done to it, but just in general of nobody did any upkeep. And then on top of that, I think Dino said something like there were drug dealers just like using that as like a home base.
Yeah, in the hall. They were drug dealers in the halls, yeah.
And that's the only reason that they recorded it in whatever, I don't know if it was LA studio, but they wanted to go there because of the history. And obviously bands like Ministry that they love and use that quote unquote famous gear on the albums that they love, and look at what happened.
Speaking of weird things that you learned lately, you were talking about, I think when they left Wax Tracks, I think they ended up somewhere in Canada, I want to say, in Vancouver or something, I think. And then it ended up in LA where Reese and all them out of the electronics. I listened to the Meet Me podcast again, where they interviewed Garth.
Okay.
The engineer,
Yeah.
GGG. You know why he has that nickname? Because he has a stutter. So that's why they call him Garth. And I'm like, that's pretty wild. And the guy owns the nickname. Like, he's like, yeah, it's, I have a stutter. And I was like, holy shit, like this guy has engineered some of the albums I loved as a young adult. And now you learn something. Okay, so moving along, we're getting away from Dark Side of the Spoon, and we head into Animosity Somnia.
How the fuck can you pronounce that?
It's a palindrome. I think it's a palindrome. It's animosity and insomnia, and he basically lays them back together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some shit like that.
Yeah.
I tried pronouncing that in my head like a million times when I was writing this out, and I'm like, I can't do it. I'm just gonna have Jay do it. Jay or Chris can do it because I'm not doing it.
Yep. Animosity Somnia. Another beer, and that would not be coming out the way it is.
Yeah. So, all right, February 17th, 2003 through Sanctuary Records. This is where he goes to Sanctuary. This is their 8th record and first for Sanctuary. The album title is a palindrome of the word animosity spelled both forward and backward, leaving out the Y. He made it up because he was bored. So Al's bored and he just comes out with this fucking crazy shit. That's just Al for you.
I was going to say that just sounds like his life, his career.
First record to have lyrics in the booklet. So I guess he was against having lyrics in his booklets and all that kind of shit, which makes sense because why do extra work when you're too fucked up to do it anyway?
From what I heard, a rumor I heard was that so many people were writing all the lyrics at once, and that's one reason why he like royalties and payouts. And I think Connolly and Barker and Bill Rieflin, or however you say his last name too, they're all credited on different things too. Like Burning Inside, I think has like 4 different lyricists. I think that's part of the reason in the past was that nobody knew who was credited for what, and they just kind of like threw a dart at it and said, okay, here. And then the other reason being they kind of just were like too fucked up and just said whatever in the studio, and nobody knew what the fuck they were saying after all the effects. Because if you listen to Thieves on the album and then you listen to Thieves live, he either changes the lyrics or he didn't know what the fuck he was saying or what, but they're not the same.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so
who
the fuck knows?
This is the last record with Paul Barker.
Yeah.
Also, it's said to be their last industrial record. In 2016, Al called this record his least favorite. Said it was not fun to make because he quit heroin cold turkey during the recording. He also doesn't consider it a ministry record. He left the recording before the last song was even done again, and that's why that's an instrumental again. He left all the responsibilities to Paul again. So 2 records he did this because he just was fucking done with it.
I think
you have to be the biggest boss to fucking do that kind of shit, man.
I think it's more than 2. I think this is just kind of like 2 that were reported on.
Yeah, where he admits that he left. Yeah.
And I will say before you guys get into it, I do not like this record at all. I don't like it at all.
So I'll start. This to me seemed like a step closer to combining the sound that we were used to on Psalm 69 with the path that he went down, the lane that he cleared with Filth Pig. It was kind of like a weird combo, right? You can hear the ancestral remnants of like the heavy stuff he did with his early catalog, but you can also hear like the really doomy, thick stuff he did with the last 2 albums. Shit. Fuck me. That being said, there's not a lot of samples that we're used to, right? They're not few, if any. There's the one song where it basically is kind of like Jesus Built My Hot Rod Part 2. I think it was Broken, where Al Jurgensen's being Al Jurgensen. I will say this, though, like songs like Unsung, songs like Lockbox, they're actually pretty good songs. Like there's some good tracks on this album, but you can almost hear that the heart isn't in it.
Hold on, Jay. Do I have this right? Animosity-somnia?
Animosity-somnia.
There we go. I fucking think I got it.
Yep.
I was just doing it in my head when you were talking. I was like, I have to interrupt because I think I got it. My bad. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I think it's not every band, if you're around long enough, right? They release albums where they're not great. They're not terrible. They just are. This is one of his This just is. It's just a Ministry album. There's a couple of bright spots. There's a couple of real dark spots. Nothing really to write home about, but it's not something you can throw the whole thing away and just say, fuck it, chuck it in the fucking bucket. I'm not doing anything with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with him. I don't like the record, like I said, because he even says it sucks. So,
And what Jay says, like honestly, I think that's every album post Filth Pig, and I like Filth Pig. But there are a couple songs on Filth Pig that I was like, yeah, take it or leave it. But it especially with the Bush trilogy and especially with like the last three that he did. Personally, I'm not a fan of that America can't whatever. I don't know how you say it. The triple Ks. But yeah, I think this album is kind of like he took. Like you said, Jay, he took like some old stuff. He took some stuff with Dark Side and Psalm, and he kind of just put it in a blender. And then on top of that, you have Paul singing some stuff, which probably because Al left the fucking studio. You have the Light That Blinds Me cover that took them fucking 20 years to put out. You have Al kind of even bringing back the British voice a little bit. This is almost like a best of album that if you didn't know was on Sanctuary, you would think it was the last album in a contract to fulfill for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of odd, because he's dipping his toe in like different parts of his, 20 plus year career at that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of bright spots. Like you said, Lockbox, I think could have been good. I don't know what it is that doesn't gel for me, if it's the vocal, because he does have that weird like ba-da-da-da beat, but he also did that kind of bluesy country feel on, I forget the song name, but on Dark Side as well. It does have
it's I remember the song. Wait a minute. It's is it Step?
It's probably that one. But, that was one of the ones I wanted to take a note at because he almost does like that stereotypical, da-da-da-da, and I had a bad day, ba-da-da-da, because I was on heroin, like he almost does that. And then here he kind of does it more, countryified. And I think this is where, he moved to Texas and he started being a country Texan boy for like the next like 20 years of his life until he moves to LA again or whatever. I don't know. So it's a tough album, to quote, I'm sorry, I forget who said it last time, to quote that term that you guys are saying, but if I had to pick an album that was probably my least favorite, it depends on my day. It's either Dark Side or this.
Fair enough.
I'm surprised at that, actually.
I don't know, this album, like I said, I probably listened to like the 4 songs off of it, and I don't listen to the rest of it.
Oh, okay.
I'd probably say this inches out Dark Side for me, because Dark Side, I have to be in the right mood to listen to half the album, or maybe more than half of the album, probably 2/3. But if you throw on Supermatic or Bad Blood, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
But this album has like 4 of those, whereas Dark Side only has like 2 of those.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, a little more of that, I guess. And I forget, Tim said it, and I forget exactly what he said, but he was talking about the last song being instrumental. It's kind of interesting too. A lot of people hate Brick Windows from Psalm. The last song, Brick Window.
Okay.
I think it's Psalm. Not Psalm. Sorry, Filth Pig.
Filth Pig. Okay.
It's kind of upbeat a little bit. It's the last song of Filth Pig, and I think Jay might be frozen, or I'm frozen.
Yeah,
keep going. You're frozen, but keep going.
Is he cutting out again?
Yeah, we lost him again. Pause it. Let's.
All right, we're recording again.
All right, so let's
So we were on Anna Shishabalamana, and we're gonna go over to Houses of the Mole.
Yeah, I honestly think, if you guys don't mind, we can do the next 3 albums all together.
Yeah,
right, because this is the Bush trilogy, right? So this is Houses of the Mole. This is Rio Grande Blood, and then Last Sucker.
Last Sucker, yeah.
All right, so Houses of the Mole, June 21st, 2004, Sanctuary. Rio Grande Blood, May 2nd, 2006, through 13th Planet and Megaforce. The Last Sucker, September 18th, 2007, through 13th Planet. So, like Jay said, this is a trilogy about the Bush administration and all that stuff. We're going to get into all three of these records, and then we'll get into Relapse, and we're out of here. But let's do these three raw records.
So I remember picking up Houses of the Mole after I'd been away from Ministry for a while, and my first thought was, holy shit, this is thrash. This isn't industrial, right? He really goes in, again, talking about how Al knows how to write an opening track. What's the first song? The first song on Houses of the Mole is No W.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, now Redux, right? Redo. And then it goes into Waiting and Worthless, right? So this is all the industrial pretense is gone. It's straight thrash metal. And that, I mean, every song starts with a W. And, I mean, it's kind of cliche and kind of cheesy in hindsight. Even Al says, I read some interview where he said by the third album, he was like kind of sorry. He felt sorry for Bush picking on him all the time because he really was kind of stupid, you know? But I mean, the opener in Rio Grande Blood is great. And then the opener of The Last Sucker, I think, is Let's Go, which is another song that they still open sets with. At this point, Sin Quirin, I think, is really involved. Paul Raven from Killing Joke is around. I think it's Mike Scacia, I think, is back, right? Mole, he shows up again. Yeah, because WTV is basically TV2 Part 2. I just remember it's super fast. And again, Paul Barker is gone at this point as well. And I mean, when you put all three albums in a blender, you probably could pick out, Chris, what do you know? Let me know if you'd agree. I think between those three albums, you put them in a blender, you could pick out a solid, great album. If you cherry pick amongst all the songs, I think you could build a solid 10 tracks of a great album.
Maybe 12 to 15, but
okay.
Yeah. And I only say that because I think Houses is almost damn near perfect. There's probably 2 songs maybe that just don't gel with me. But as you move forward, it just becomes less and less. I find songs less and less that I like. Kind of what I was saying about the Dark Side and Anna Masana before my video froze and whatever I said probably got cut off. But it's more thrash and chunky again, but a different kind of chunky. I forget. I think it's Rio. Tommy Victor comes in on guitar and he writes some stuff and plays some stuff. So it's probably why it gets a little kind of that weird thick sound. There again, Al said something about bulk recording and he just kind of picked whatever. Like you said, each album has a great opener. There are parts electronic, industrial, whatever you want to say there, but it's more what some people call bands like Fear Factory or Strapping Young Lad, that they're metal with sound effects, instead of industrial metal. Where
I've never heard that, but that's a pretty good descriptor.
The industrial community can, well, like most communities, can be harsh at times, but
metal with sound effects.
That's I guess that's coming from the people that think any type of guitar in an industrial song is a no-go.
Right,
so
right.
This
is the Einstürzen, Neubauten,
yeah,
Cabaret Voltaire crowd. Yeah.
Well, or like I can't think of the band right now, but there's a couple bands that they just like Suicide Commando or something, like some of those fans, and I'm not picking on anybody, of course, but some of those fans just think industrial should just be keyboards and that's it. Any type of guitar, it should just not be there. That's metal. So yeah, I can't think of the name. I'm gonna have to look at my phone. But there's the first song off of Rio. That's basically metal with sound effects. There's a part in a midsection breakdown with like a weird like double kick thing that kind of goes in like fours, and there's like a weird like boom clank going on in the background. You know, that's basically the only industrial that in that song. Lies, 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 which, like I said before, I think is the song they won the Grammy for.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's pretty much metal. And there's maybe some background stuff that Al packs in to get that low end, those frequencies, like I was saying, like 200 hertz and down on the other albums. I think that's really all he kind of did to like fill it in, make it fuller, make it more of that quadraphonic stuff I was saying either last episode or before in this episode, depending on when I was cut off. But yeah, it's interesting because there's parts, there's the really good Roadhouse Blues cover.
Oh yeah, that is good.
You know, there's parts in the later albums that I'm like, yeah, that's really awesome. You know, I was saying like some of the End of Days Part 1 and 2 at the end of Last Sucker. You know, like I was saying about Brick Windows for Filth Pig before I again got cut off. You know, a lot of people don't like those songs. There's a couple parts that are, I think it's Die in a Car Crash or something. It's like a very punky song, which that might be a cover, I forget. But I honestly, I prefer End of Days Part 2 with, I forget if it's Eisenhower, but there's the military industrial complex speech.
Yeah, it's Eisenhower. Yep.
Yeah. And I prefer that over the first version, you know, End of Days Part 1. There's just something about this like weird cinematic, you can almost feel like, you know, that was when, again, he's trying to cancel Ministry for whatever, the third time or some shit, you know, put it to rest. You can feel this like crescendo, you know, coming down, the curtain is closing. You know, I almost get that from listening to the song. So there are a lot of highlights. Yes, there are a lot of negatives. I think, you know, like we said earlier about Paul Barker being his yin and the yang, pushing back on some stuff, like Tim was saying, with them coming in with the two camps on Psalm and, you know, changing shit, deleting shit, whatever. Al didn't have that. He's got his yes men, for better or worse. Yeah. You know, he just does whatever fuck he wants, whether it works or not, for better or worse. You know, he definitely found his muse again. So whatever passion he lost, whether it be the drugs as well, on, you know, Filth Pig, Dark Side, Anna, whatever you want to say there. Seems like he got it back again. Yeah. You know, especially with Houses. You know, Houses, you know, he's coming in and he's coming in right away. Is it a one-trick pony? Does it start to wear thin after the second album or even into the third album? You know, hey, that's for the user, the listener to determine. I still think Houses is great. I think he once said in an interview that Houses was almost Psalm 69 Part 2. You know, and I kind of see that. You know, especially with a lot of the more metal with sound effects that Psalm kind of is, and this album is too.
See, I always viewed Surgical Meth Machine as Psalm 69.2 Part 2. Like, if you listen to that album, the first 5 tracks, you're like,
hot take. I hated that fucking album.
Really?
I fucking hated it.
All right, I can't wait till we dive into the B-sides and we're gonna do B-sides, live album, and side projects.
You want to talk about an album where Al just said, "I don't give a fuck"? That's that album.
Yeah.
He went in. He said, "I'm gonna make grindcore, and I'm gonna do it with an electronic, you know, setup." And he just threw a bunch of shit at you, and like none of it made any sense. It was like a change every 4 goddamn seconds. I felt like I was watching like Taken Part 3 or some shit with all the like the 50 cuts of him,
with quick cuts,
hopping over the goddamn fence. If that's in Part 2 or 3, I don't know. And the only good song I thought was the I'm Invisible song on that album. But I only say that because A, he rips off Pepper. He's even wearing the goddamn white suit like Gibby in the video. Again, hot take, sorry. And 2, it should have been called I'm Invincible because he won't fucking die.
Yeah.
He missed a great opportunity there.
Yeah.
So all he does is just I don't know, I'm invisible because he's smoking weed. I didn't get it. Whatever. It's not made for me. I don't care. It's fine. I didn't buy it. I don't need to own it. It is what it is. But
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Different topic. You
Yeah.
know, I'm just trying to I did initially like a lot of the Bush trilogy, but on re-listens, most of it doesn't hold up for me except for I'd say 75-85% of Houses. I think that's the one where he really had his juices flowing. He really had that kick in the butt. The only thing that I really dislike is at the end, the hidden track of Paul's Not Here run backwards.
Yeah, that's him being juvenile and getting his shots in.
Yeah, and I get it. I do. I really get it. But even that last song, that's kind of a slow, clunker, chunky, brooding, sludgy kind of throwback to Filth Pig, off of Houses. It's a good, after an album of like that's his Rain and Blood album, after or it's his Pantera Far Beyond Driven where they did Planet Caravan at the end.
Yeah.
It's on 11 and then he brings it down, nice little, so that, to me, that's the album. If you wanted to say so what's Psalm 70, go pick up that album.
Okay.
That's a hot take right there, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see it. I can see it.
And like we said before, the Houses of Mole was the first without Paul, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And Mike Scacia's back.
And
So
Scacia comes back.
Yeah.
Okay. So they released this right before the election, I think.
I think it was right around, or no, it's right after.
It was right after he won his second term.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the last album was in 2004, so he was already elected.
Yeah, and why do you think he calls it a rebirth record though? That's what I don't understand. Like,
probably because he's clean.
And he's kicked in the butt.
Okay.
He was kicked in the butt, like I was saying.
Yeah.
He got his I don't know, second, third, fourth wind at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently this record didn't chart at all. Like apparently it was like a very, very bad selling record.
Which
do you
is
think
odd.
that has to do with? Do you think that has to do with his fan base? Like, oh, he's not fucked up anymore, and he's not.
That or people were burned
and...
out by Animosity Samana, and we're like, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm not going in again because the last one was so terrible.
I think it's probably the last three. It's probably Filth Pig, Dark, and Anna. They probably just were like the faith just wasn't there, and then they probably heard the album like, oh shit, he's doing metal, and everybody who, the electronic side was probably like, well, fuck him, he's doing metal, and the metal side was like, well, it's not real metal, so fuck him because it's metal with sound effects and that whole stigmata.
There's another thing for the show: metal with sound effects.
Yeah, right.
So we have our two things now: hard alternative. And metal with sound effects.
And then also, I'm better than these new metal nerds.
And while we're talking about this, so for Rio Grande Blood, we talked about, or I said it came out on 13th Planet and Megaforce. Now, 13th Planet is Al's record label, right?
Yes. And Megaforce is the old one with Johnny Z from Metallica.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. John Zazula?
Yeah.
Okay.
Johnny
Jimmy just had him on, right?
I'm looking. His book. I have a copy of his book. It's a pretty interesting story too. If you look at Ministry's catalog, it typically comes in threes, right? Yeah. So you had with Sympathy, Twitch, and then the 12-inch singles, right? That's his Euro pop, whatever electronic phase, right? That synth pop, and then you have Land of Rape and Honey, Mine is Terrible Thing to Taste, Psalm 69. Which is where they come into their dirty, grungy, in-your-face industrial with samples. Then you have Filth Pig, Dark Side of the Spoon, Animosity Samana, which is their dirgy, slower, less samples, less keyboard-driven, more doomy. And then you have the Bush trilogy. And then you have, well, the next couple albums, we're going to leave off at Relapse, but you've got Relapse, From Beer to Eternity, and America.
Okay, yeah, it's like,
And
I don't know how you're going to say it, but
where he's just kind of, he's still trying to, this might be
America can't.
the section from Relapse, Beer to Eternity, and American might mirror the section of Filth Pig, Dark Side, and Animosity Samana, where he's kind of retrenching and trying to find himself again. Maybe, I don't know.
See, the only thing like I said, I wasn't really a fan of America Can't, but it was mostly because you have 6-minute songs that I thought were musically very good, but he's got like 2 paragraphs of lyrics, and then 4 minutes of the goddamn 2-minute song is just Trump samples, which
yeah. You did this with Bush, buddy. Come on, you're beating the dead horse. Yeah.
And well, see, the thing with like the Bush ones, like I felt that they were kind of funny, whereas the Trump ones, I just felt they were sad.
Yeah.
Like, because like I'm not gonna get political, of course, on anybody's beliefs here, but like I was just kind of like, well, we're currently living it, and there's a lot of people that are suffering through his decisions, for lack of a better word. So maybe I would have had a different opinion if it came out 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But it's like we're already living through it, and it's like you have this reminder of, I don't know, certain decisions that he's made, for better or worse, and then you have this album that comes out that even further reminds you of it. And I was just very disappointed. I was like, well, dial back the Trump samples, increase the lyrics, and keep the music as it is, because I really did like the music. I think there was one, like, it was like Victims of the Clown or something like that it was called. I thought that was really good. But again, it was just too much Trump samples, and it was just like conking me over the head with it. And it's
too much. It was too much.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. At least with the Bush ones, while they were done, well, okay. We all know Bush was the patsy, Cheney was the real one running the show.
Right.
But here with Trump, I guess the real issue is that we do kind of know he's running the show, for better or worse. So does that make it like sadder or less funnier or more serious? Like, I don't know,
It does kind of make you want to put things in perspective, and you kind of spin it on its ear. Yeah.
That's my point about maybe if it came out 10 years from now.
Yeah. So we can wrap up with the Bush trilogy, where the other thing that stood out for me in this run in the Ministry oeuvre is they did a lot of remix albums, and I'm a big fan of the remix, right? So there was the Rio Grande W, there was The Last Dubber instead of The Last Sucker, there was another live album in there, Adios Puta Madres. So I mean, and then there was the Everyday is Halloween EPs and all that. Right before Houses of the Mole, there was early tracks, which was all the early demos. There was side tracks, which is all of their side stuff. I mean, he's starting to get into almost like a groove. And we'll end the episode with Relapse, where I actually think the first couple songs on Relapse are pretty fucking good.
Oh, I want to get your guys' opinion on something though. If I share the screen here,
shoot.
And hold on a sec. Can see if you guys can see it. Can you see it?
Yep, we can see your desktop. Yep.
Yeah,
you see desktop. This video right here?
Oh yeah, that's that Lies. Oh no,
so this whole like dance thing right here, is he always do this stuff?
A little bit.
You know what I'm talking about right here though?
Yeah.
Because people were calling this, like, during this record cycle, like they were calling this like his famous like little dance thing he does. And I kind of find it hilarious when he was doing this kind of stuff.
That's kind of the like going back to the last episode with the Same Old Madness song. That's kind of like the high kicks that he was doing. Like he'd be dancing like this if you've never seen the video, and then he'd be doing like the weird like high kicks like fucking David Lee Roth.
Oh, okay, I kind of think he needs to get rid of the do-rag and the dreadlocks and just shave his head bald and be like, you know what, own it. Because
it's not. He is bald. Like half of this is not even real anymore.
It's just not really? A good look.
Oh yeah. If you go back to some of the videos on Filth Pig, 96, he's already got like the widow's peak like coming up. Like here,
okay. I'm gonna have to go back and look at all that shit. But I found this video to be hilarious because he's doing like this weird dancing and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know. It's like his little like weird like jig, and like I don't know. He does different stuff on stage, but it's pretty close to what he does on stage.
Yeah, so I was just like, I got to add this in here because I need that opinion real quick. So,
Yeah, he's an interesting one. So talk to us about Relapse, Tim.
well, I do want to go through a couple things real quick about Rio Grande and Last Sucker.
Okay.
So album title for Rio Grande is a ZZ Top, Rio Grande Mud.
Yep.
That's where he got that from.
Yep.
A lot of lyrics are about the 9/11 attacks being a hoax. We can get into that one day. Al's second favorite Ministry record is Rio Grande. I honestly think that record's terrible.
I
just
again,
can't
it's
get
got some
into it.
good songs on it. I think it's I think it's just most of the lyrics, to be honest. It's a little like the music's a little uninspired, but with Tommy Victor being there, like I'm conflicted because I
Yeah.
love Prong, I love Tommy. There's a lot of good riffs. You know, if you want to dissect the album and go through the riffs, especially Lies, you know, Lies, Lies, Lies. I mean, that's a pretty good just that you know, the riff and then how he builds on it, yada yada. You know, the first one, Rio Grande Blood itself, that first one, you know, it's a lot of good music stuff there, but the lyrics just get tired real quick.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the one song about like yellow cake or whatever, I'm not even sure if it's on that album, could be on the other album, but just stuff like that. You know, you just start to get a little like, again, without the Paul Barker there or somebody like Paul being his yin and his yang, like you just start to feel like, was he like a little lazy here, or is it, you know, too much wine lazy? So I don't know. I don't know.
Pretty much. All right, couple more things. So you see in Rio Grande Blood, they start getting songs in video games and low budget films. They also had a song in The Hurt Locker, which was a pretty big movie.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that record hits number 134 in the Billboard, so they go back into the Billboard with Rio Grande. On to Last Sucker. It's their last record in the trilogy. Also, the band broke up for 3 years after the record. So he says he had other things to do and kept the band to focus on. He started focusing on his record label, 13th Planet, and he wanted to build that up like he did Wax Tracks in the 80s. Also, in Last Sucker, you have songs with Burton from Fear Factor, which I'm pretty sure he did the last 3 songs on that record.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the album leaked on the internet 2 months before the release, and the lyrics and full credits were leaked on a website a week later. And like Jay said before, he said by the end of this record, he actually kind of felt bad about all the bashing he did to Bush.
Because, I mean, he started, you know, like we all realized that Bush was just, you know, he was the puppet. Cheney was the bad guy.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we all know now. I mean, I think, yeah, in real time, Al didn't say it until later on. So,
yeah.
But I mean, he does. He starts to bash Cheney too, and I think he even has that one song about Cheney shooting that guy on the hunting accident. You know, the hunting accident.
Yeah, where he peppered the guy with birdshot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that's where I say, like, is he being lazy because he's kind of reaching? You know, he's writing a song about Cheney shooting some guy. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you go back and you're like, well, do the lyrics to like Thieves, are they actually that like you know, super relevant and, you know, ultra creative either? Like, no, they're not. But there's something about it that sticks with you 20 plus years later, 30 years later, whatever. And this song with Cheney is already forgotten within the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So it is. It's very odd to see that.
Definitely. All right, so we're going on 3 hours on a Ministry deep dive. Let's do Relapse, and then we'll talk about Machine Man Records real quick, and we're going to get out of here. Next, we do Relapse, March 23rd, 2012 through 13th Planet. So he leaves Megaforce, and he puts it on his own label. This is the 12th studio record by them. This is the first record after their 3-year hiatus. And then there was a near-death experience for Al. Does anyone know what that is?
That's the one I was talking about where he probably like the third time he almost died. He I think it's related to where he has 13 ulcers. And that's where
it was a ruptured ulcer. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where he was like bleeding out. and something to do with the medication he was taking too. And I think it's in his book where he said he went to the bathroom and he was like shitting blood, and he had on his military helmet because he was having seizures. So if he fell over, his head would be protected like a bike helmet. So he was taking the helmet off to catch the blood that he was shitting out.
Oh.
But then he was falling over, so he was putting the helmet back on so he wouldn't like crack his skull. So all the blood's coming on into his dreadlocks in his head. But then he's shitting the blood, so he's pulling the helmet back off. And I think he said like one of his dogs saved his life. His dog ran and like got his wife or something because he was like passed out.
I
on the
vaguely
bathroom
remember
floor.
that in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So that was kind of, I think, relation to that and the whole 13 planet and, you know, yada, yada, yada. 13 ulcers, like all up and down, like from his throat, I think, through into his lower intestine out of his anus, we'll say.
Is this all caused from the drug use and the drinking?
I would think so.
Yeah, I think it was all the above, like just
Okay.
old age, drinking, stress, drugs.
The drinking and the stress will get you with the fucking ulcers, right? Because stress is the biggest start of an ulcer, and then drinking, it just destroys your stomach. You know,
Yeah.
it throws all your balances out, like all the bacterial balance. Yeah.
That's why I think he mostly drinks just wine now, because it's a little more soothing, I guess is the word.
Well, he's
But,
got to
you
do
know,
something, right?
I will say, yeah, exactly. And I will say for a long time, maybe 2 years, he was full clean sober. Like he didn't smoke, he didn't drink. He came back somewhere after this album, like he actually started smoking again. So he actually did kind of try, and I think it was mostly his wife. He lost a lot of weight that he gained from getting off like heroin. You know, his wife got him on the treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually doing pretty well for a while. And, you know, old habits die hard, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently, this is their first album, like I said, after the 3-year hiatus. But then they announced they were coming back with an appearance at Wacken in 2012.
Yeah.
And then I think there's like a little documentary record, kind of live record thing for that.
Yeah, yeah.
This is where Mike dies of a heart attack in 2012.
Yeah. It's somewhere after this because
live in Enjoy the Quiet, live at Wacken 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this is the last album he's on. He's on some of these. I'm looking at the credits, so I know he played on some of these. And then yeah, the next album with From Beer to Eternity, I'm pretty sure maybe with the bulk recording he did one or two, but the rest of it's like Sin. And then yeah, they do a couple tributes to him, and obviously the new one, it's all Sin. I get, you know, I'm pretty sure.
And why do you think the vocals were so up in the mix in Relapse? Did you notice, like in this record, like the vocals
they
are
seem
like
louder.
really high in the mix?
Yeah. I don't know. I really maybe tried something
it's
new.
Weird, yeah.
Who knows?
I just noted, like when I first listened to it again, I was like, man, them vocals are really high in the mix on this record.
I don't know. It could be Sammy, his engineer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He could have been doing it more without Al's input, because even through the Bush trilogy, Al's vocals change a lot. Like those effects, the saturation, the thickness of them. You know, he gets Houses is very basic. You know, it's just kind of like him yelling. And then I forget. I know he kind of changes on the next two, but yeah, he gets very, you know, and it's very thick and saturated and kind of hard to understand him. This one, yeah, he kind of goes back and forth. I mean, like Gold Diggers, you know, he's kind of normal sounding.
Yeah.
Double Tap's a little more heavier. But you know, this album's all right. I liked most of it. It's like kind of Weekend Warrior, Get Up, Get Out and Vote. Those were kind of, you know.
Yeah, it's a record where I can take it or leave it. It wasn't really that good to me.
I think the best one is Double Tap.
On the record?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably the best song on that album. Yeah.
So
and they do a cover of United Forces from SOD.
Yeah, SOD. I thought that was wild because I had it played in the background and I'm like, I know this song. This is SOD.
Yeah. It's a good cover.
Yeah.
So all right, let's, because I'm starting to yawn here. So next we go to From Beer to Eternity, and then we have the America Can't whatever record.
Yeah, and I checked out after Relapse. I was like, that's enough for me. That's enough Al Jurgensen for a lifetime.
Yeah, it was rough after that, man. It gets a little weird.
You know, to go back what you're saying though, I'm checking Wiki, and Sammy is listed as a producer on Relapse, and I think the next two. So
Oh,
maybe
wow, okay.
that's why. So the engineer is the producer.
Oh, okay.
So that could be why the vocals are that high in the mix.
Now I want to get into some here. Have you guys have heard the new Static X record, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah. That thing's great.
Dude, it's so good. The last song on that record has Al Jurgensen in it in the chorus part, and I think that is one of the best songs on the record.
I agree.
That's a very fucking good song, and I didn't really know that him and Wayne Static were like really good friends like that.
I'm not sure how good of friends they were, but Paul did do a couple remixes.
Okay.
The stupid one, I'm with Stupid or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did do some remixes back in like 99, because they were both on Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Static and Ministry at the time. So, I mean, I know that they crossed paths. I'm not sure how friendly they were, but Tony from Static X was the bass player in Ministry he still might be the bass player. I don't know. So, yeah, there's definitely, again, some overlap, like Jay was saying earlier and last episode.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Holy shit. All right, so that was a 3-hour thing on Ministry. 2 episodes. It was fucking a lot. Dude, you know your shit, man.
Well, can I who, me or Jay?
Chris, you do.
Chris,
Yeah.
you know your shit, man.
Yeah.
No notes at all. Like, you're very, very informative, man.
I have a strange brain. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We love it.
And I just wanted to conclude with, and the wife said it too. We could probably talk, 10, 12 hours about this. From Beer to Eternity was like, I don't know. Again, it's a very weird album. I think the first 3 are great. Punch in the Face is probably like the best song off that album.
Yeah, it is.
I liked Perma War. It was a nice, slow, mid-tempo song, and I liked that Al started to sample Democrats too, and not just Republicans, and basically say that all government is evil, not just this side. I'm a Democrat and Republicans are evil, that he's basically been saying since like the 80s. So it was interesting to see that perspective shift from him. Again, a lot of this is kind of take it or leave it, hit or miss, the same old stuff since, the Bush trilogy, America Can't. I gave him some credit there because he started to do some different shit, like introduce DJ scratching again. So I was kind of like, all right, he's back to not so much experimenting, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, but he's actually trying to break the formula while still maintaining the formula.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was John. I think it's Bechtel is how you say his last name. The keyboard player. He was also a keyboardist in Fear Factory and oh shit, I can't remember the other band from the 80s. I'm good at somebody's gonna kill me in the comments.
He was in keyboard for Fear Factory?
Yeah, he's actually from like Western PA.
Oh yeah, okay.
He's got the weird spiky
Yeah, I know you're talking
black
about
spiky hair.
Yeah.
I always mispronounce his name, and I apologize, John. He's a real good guy. I've not to name drop anybody.
Ministry, Fear Factory, Abstinence, Prong, Killing Joke,
Murder, that's
Inc.
Killing Joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is. I don't know. Maybe he influenced Al more because there was a lot of pictures I saw that was him and Al in the studio together. So it seems like maybe Al was listening to outside forces again, is really my point. So I gave America Can't the benefit of the doubt for that. Like I said before, really what just killed me was the overuses of the Trump samples. I really did. I really liked the music. And if Al would put out like an instrumental version or something, I'd probably buy that. I really would. But, as I said to you guys in the Facebook chats, if you like, if you like the Bush trilogy, if you like Relapse, then you'll like From Beer to Eternity, and you'll like America Can't. If you don't, then you probably won't like those either.
Yeah, tough sell for me, definitely, though. I'll tell you that much. Well, listen, Chris, I want to get into your record label and all that stuff, because I know we talked about it on Ill Street, but fuck all that. This is New Breed. Let's get into your record label, when you started it, all that stuff, and what you have coming up, what bands you have coming up, and get into you starting to produce and all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for the Ill Street stuff too back then.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Glad to have you on.
Thank you. And I just, before we even get into it, just gonna again shout out my cousins, the Jennings, for putting me in contact with you guys. Mostly Richie, who was on your one podcast.
Yeah.
I forget which one. I'm sorry. You have like 5 of them.
yeah. He was on the Tim's Metal Show.
The Metal Show one. Yes. Thank you. Okay. And yes, thank you for playing Metal Show. Thank you for playing some Machine Man there.
Oh, absolutely, man.
But yeah, we basically just passed the 3 years. It was October 3 years ago.
Nice.
Short version is, thank you. Short version is the old label, change of management, and I did not like where the new management was going. So the old owner of that label, he actually just left, and he's been helping me a little bit on the side here, promoting, advertising. He gave me a lot of his contacts for like press and radio shows. He's a really good dude. Otto, I think it's Kinzel. I'm actually not sure how to say his last name, but he's got like a doom metal band called Dust Prophet. If anybody wants to check them out, they're really cool. But he does a lot with Metal Devastation Radio, a lot of promoting and stuff. Okay. Really good guy. He's one of the things that not only showed me what to do for Machine Man and what to model it on and how to act and treat people and all that kind of stuff. He was definitely a good primary influence there. Like I said before, we do a lot of, I don't want to use the word underground, but like eclectic and different stuff that's not considered mainstream bands. We have, I just put out another sampler for this year. I try to do them every year of whatever the hell came out this year. It's on our Bandcamp. It's free. So, you go to Bandcamp, look for Machine Man, or just go to machineman.com, machinemanrecords.com.
Now this is 2 words, right? Not 1 word.
I think it's 2 words. Yeah. If you want to type it in, you'll find it.
Okay.
It's sad when I don't even know, because it originally I think was supposed to be 3 words, but I think when I sent it out to the graphic guy that did all the stuff for me, I think he put it Machine Man and then Records. So okay. I just said fuck it, I don't really care. Fun tidbit, it came from a Judas Priest song.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a badass name, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do like it a lot.
That's Ripper for you. It was Jesus. It's the second Ripper album, and I forget the name of it right now.
I'm out.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. Hit that wiki real quick, Jay.
Yeah, Jesus. It's the second album with Ripper, Judas Priest. It's like early 2000s. But there's a song, I actually don't remember if the title is Machine Man or not. But he says that like in the chorus, like, Machines Man coming, Machine Man,
Demolition.
Yes, that album. Good album, actually. Very good album. Both of those with Ripper. Very underrated. So, anyway, Bandcamp, machinemanrecords.com, whatever. We're on there. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. coming up, like you said, we have Jesus. I think I'm planned out till April. We have guy called, I think it's Reconvalescence. I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually. He's never told me. He's coming out the end of January. February is this one kid. His name is Tyler Cantrell. He's somebody I'm working with right now, producing, recording his solo album. It's kind of like a Devin Townsend thing.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, he's very into him. He's the guitarist for Haxon,
Okay.
which I also co-produced, recorded, yada yada. That came out in the end of October, so that's already out. Getting some really good reviews. We're all very happy with it. I'm glad it's getting the press it is.
Cool.
They're very young kids. I think Tyler himself is like 16 or 17.
Holy shit. Okay.
They're like they met at like one of those School of Rocks up in like Fort Washington. So they're yeah. I think the singer might be like 22 or something. So they're all pretty young, but they're all great musicians. Kind of proggy, kind of thrashy. It's a weird, maybe like a Justice for All kind of an album.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's got like a lot of like weird thrash, and then it's got like a lot of like Rush prog stuff to it. So it's
I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed that No Names record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Jay said
really
earlier
good,
too.
man.
Yeah, oh my God, those guys. I stumbled upon them somehow on like Bandcamp or some shit, and they just had like what they call demos, even though they still sounded pretty goddamn good. And I was like, I don't know why you're calling them demos, but whatever. So I think I bought like the first two and then hit them up and was like, yo, if you want to work together, let me know. Like, they're like just two guys from Australia that just kind of, I think they're in their mid 40s or late 40s, and they're just kind of like doing whatever. They play a couple shows, they do this music that they make no qualms, I guess, that they know it's inspired by like Godflesh and like Fudge Tunnel and
Okay.
oh Jesus, what's the other one that Max did?
Nail Bomb.
Yes, Nail Bomb.
Nail Bomb Island. Yeah.
They know, they know that like our shit sounds like that, and that's fine. Like, this is what we want to do. There you go, done. They're in their box, and that's what they do. That's getting some good stuff too. Like, we just put out that new album probably in the summer. I can't remember.
Yeah, definitely. That's when I played it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that and that. But the kid Tyler, he did like an ambient album that's coming out in February. Ambient, I think. Yeah, I don't know if I said ambient.
Yep.
Ambient album to kind of hold people over until his solo thing's done. We're about halfway done recording it. Like I said, that's a little more like Devin Townsend. This is a little more like, if you listen to the soundtrack to Blade Runner, that's kind of what this sounds like.
Okay.
It's only in maybe like 5 or 6 songs. He did it all himself and then sent it to me, and I like mixed and mastered it. Cover art, all that dumb stuff. And then March, we have Goma. His next album's coming out. He's kind of like Pretty Hate Machine. He's kind of like dance industrial.
Okay.
Looking forward to that one.
If you like Pretty Hate Machine, you should like his stuff.
I love that record.
And I did a song with him. He I guess he let me do a song is what I should say, called Low Side Effects. About a year or two ago, he just sent me a song and said put vocals on it. So, whatever. I went crazy full Rob Zombie on it, and there you go. he that's what he wanted. So
yeah,
we did.
Speaking of Rob Zombie, I meant to bring this up earlier real quick, the newer Rob Zombie stuff basically just sounds like Ministry, kind of. Yeah, it has it. Yeah, it has it in there.
he kind of, I mean, that's what we were saying, I think, last episode, that, he kind of, I don't want to say ripped off, but he kind of did in that vein with Astro Creep, and, not in a bad way, because I love Astro Creep too. I love Lost Sex as well. I also think, and of course I'm drawing a blank on it, but the one, God of Thunder, the God of Thunder EP that they did right before they got signed. It's got Love Razor, and then they re-recorded this song called Disaster Blaster. Good shit.
Now I need to listen to Rob Zombie. I haven't listened to fucking White Zombie in ages.
Dude, that's my band. Those three things right there. Highly underrated EP, God of Thunder. But yeah, they talk about it in the Fix documentary that Al kind of stepped away. It was something like Al kind of stepped away from the public and the industrial image, so to speak. And he said, there comes Rob Zombie out looking like Al from Ministry as ever on the cover of Astro Creep with the big floppy hat and the big coat. And he's looking more like Al than Al did at that time. And, they were saying that, I think Al says it, that he would get called Rob Zombie on the streets and he'd just punch a guy and then the guy would sue him and he'd be paying out like $5,000 to people like every couple months because they were calling him, hey, Rob Zombie, and he was getting pissed off.
Jesus.
Here's $5,000. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he said he basically, like the record company had to like chill the fuck out. Like, you're costing yourself money, you're costing us money.
That's fucking funny, man.
So
that's great.
But I don't know how to answer the question about producing. I mean, I've always done it with when I used to play drums in my metal band 20 years ago. I recorded, produced, engineered, whatever the fuck you want to say, in my own garage, back then when you're 20, 21, recording the drums, recording the guitar, all that dumb shit. So it's just me having that analytical, technological side of my brain and, meeting people that are like, I just plug into a guitar and I play, and going, okay, I'll make you sound good. Don't worry about it,
Now, can people come to you to record, or are you just doing your bands, or?
I mean, yeah, it's a little sub thing I call Machine Man Studios.
Okay.
And that's it's basically just at my house. It's I don't know, not professional, but semi-professional home studio. I mean, that's what I did the hacks and stuff. That's where I'm doing this Kid Tyler stuff. Recorded the drums in my dining room. Had maybe like 15, 16 mics on them. I have a big 32 channel board over here. I run Logic Pro X. I have behind me over here, I have 4 amp heads and I have 4 amp cabinets in my closet. So, we have decent prices because we know we're a home studio. But, it's on the website, machinemanrecords.com. You can find the tab for the studio. It's, let me know if anybody wants to do anything. We're very down to earth. Obviously, I'm very down to earth. So if you need a deal, we can work out a deal. It's just kind of only doing what I'm doing because there's nobody lined up to record here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
It does.
But yeah,
and you're in Jersey, right?
Yes, South Jersey, right near the Deptford Mall, right over the bridge.
Okay.
So, not that far from Center City, probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Okay.
I work in Center City, so not that far. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of just, I've always done this stuff. I have a guy, Michael Haggerty from Krebs, that, Jay sent some stuff to Jay for that. He does the mixing and mastering. So,
Okay.
He did the hacks and stuff, if anybody wants to get an example.
Yeah, man, good stuff, dude. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for
seriously,
fucking
Chris,
3.5 hours, dude.
for digging in on a Saturday night. We really
That's
do appreciate
crazy.
it.
Yeah, we went long, dude. I love it. So we got 2 episodes for people to listen to, and like I said, check out fucking Machine Man Records and all that stuff, and good, and keep sending that stuff over for the metal show, man.
Definitely, and you're on my promo list, so hopefully you're getting everything.
I do, yeah. The one of sometimes it's like sometimes like the email doesn't download, but I got most of them, so I let you know when it doesn't come through though. So
yeah, just do that, please.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All right, cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks,
you
Chris,
again,
for coming.
man. Awesome time, man. And we're gonna do a 9 Inch Nails one too. So if you're interested in that, well, we're gonna get a couple more people on, and we're gonna do that as well. So
as long as my network's good, I'll be there.
Sounds
fantastic.
Good,
all right. So once again, I want to thank Chris for taking his time out this evening to join us. I want to thank on behalf of Chris, Tim, and myself, all of our listeners again. Find us in the normal channels, Instagram. There's a Facebook group. They're on Twitter. We have a playlist on Spotify, Insta, Google, Tweet, Paste, the whole 9. It's late and I'm drunk. Once again, thanks everybody for listening. And until next week, we'll see you again soon.
See you later.